Welcome back to In the Street, a blue-collar view of a white-collar world. My name is Rob. Today, I'm sure like many of you, you woke up and checked your portfolios, and we're kind of curious pre-market why HEXO is down quite a bit. And quickly scrolling through the news, it became evident that they announced a intent to file a $1.2 billion base shelf prospectus. Now, obviously, initial reaction to any sort of fundraising is usually met very negatively in the investment world. But I thought today maybe quickly, this won't be a long video, we could take a little bit of look into that and see if this really was the surprise that people are making it out to be. Now, before we go too deep into it, let's look at a few of the successes that HEXO has had these past few quarters. Obviously, we all know the brands that they offer and their joint venture with Molson Coors. I've mentioned in my previous video the 7 straight quarters of their EBITDA improvement, and now their EBITDA positive, including 5 straight quarters of net revenue improvement. Number 1 cannabis-infused beverage with Trust Beverages, and number 1 in hash with Original Stash Hash. And first in market share in Quebec, 3rd in Alberta, and 4th in Ontario. So the company is experiencing growth, but again, it's a new industry and a startup company, so we should be used to, hopefully by this time, these sort of growing pains or surprises that come up. Now, the Base Shelf Prospectus itself enables HEXO to make offerings of up to $1.2 billion of common shares, warrants, subscription receipts, and units. Now, one of the things that gets lost in the news of this is over the course of a 25-month period. I find that very important piece of information, particularly because you have a shelf life on this. So, I mean, a 2-year period, just over 2-year period, it gives you an idea that, like, this is a strategic move, and it is for reasons. Now, can they currently state those? If things are in negotiation and ongoing, probably not. But what it does allow them to do is it offers a flexibility to make more strategic moves. And what I mean by that is there was I had mentioned this before, Trent McDonald, the CFO of HEXO, gave an AMA on Reddit this past month, or last month, excuse me. And one of the things he had mentioned in a couple of the questions, like I pulled from, this was one of the responses. Okay, so he said, traditional CPG were mostly waiting on the sideline to see if the stigma would slowly disappear, how the regulatory environment would play out, whether the industry would grow as analysts expected, etc. Now they're getting more comfortable and looking for opportunities. So will we have another partner or two soon? We'll see. Now, the person who asked the question said, hey, are we going to see a partner or two this coming year? Obviously, prior to an official announcement, he can't answer that legally, But he said, as we've seen in several releases now, we have a USGM in place and are beginning to deploy capital in the U.S. to support trusts and other potential CPG partners with whom we are in ongoing negotiations. So if you're in an ongoing negotiation and you're a smaller company in a startup period where the entire industry is struggling to try to achieve profits, you need to give yourself the flexibility to make these moves when they become necessary. So when I say, was it a surprise? Let's take a look at this. He had further said in a different question, we have strategic priorities such as U.S. entry and M&A, mergers and acquisitions, that we have to consider. The Zenabis transaction, as an example, is a share deal, meaning it will increase our float at close. It also has what we consider to be punitive debt on the balance sheet, which we will want to deal with at close, which is projected at the end of this year. We're not saying if or when we may raise, but if and when we do. It will be for strategic reasons that we believe will be beneficial to the shareholders. So, like I said, was this a surprise? I mean, the man, he clearly stated this, what was that, 3 weeks ago by now? Just a little over 3 weeks ago? It's not, if or when we may, but if or when we do, because we do have these plans and ideas in place. Now, he also followed that up in a separate question, asking about the debt load of Zenabis and what their plans to manage this was. This is what the person had asked. And he says, our goal is to alleviate ourselves of the Zenabis debt at close or as soon as possible thereafter. We need to get rid of it. We want the resources and the options and the markets that this acquisition provides, but we definitely want to get rid of the debt immediately. Now, the Base Shelf Prospectus itself can be used for expansion plans into the United States, which they've already talked about in great length. Particularly like when you look at their joint venture with Molson Coors, but additionally, their communication and negotiations with non-beverage CPG partners. So it could be used for future acquisitions. There are a ton of cannabis companies out there, and we know they're not all going to last. Especially in the next 12 to 18 months. There may be some good opportunities out there that you don't want to wait and try to get these the resources you need to acquire them and get beaten out by a competitor who will be advantageous to them at the time. Capital projects and repaying debt, which I'd spoken a little bit about before. So ultimately, it's not a surprise, but the market is a reactive market, like it always has been and always will be. So if you look at this as a quick profit play, you probably should look elsewhere. Now, if you're looking at this as a long-term growth opportunity and with a company with tremendous potential, I say you should probably enjoy the discount. So do me a favor, if you enjoyed this video, leave a comment below what your thoughts are on the Base Shelf Prospectus. And if you have not, subscribe, and always remember, don't short the like button. Thanks again.